And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller friends and family. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello. It is Mystery Monday, and I am excited to welcome debut author Elle Grawl to the show, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new, super creepy book, One of Those Faces. Elle, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate it. So my book, One of Those Faces, let me see if I can get it in the screen. um, it's it follows an struggling artist in Chicago. She's kind of dealing with a lot of past trauma that she's trying to get over, um, and trying to make it on her own still in Chicago. When she's a witness to a murder nearby her home, and what she soon discovers is that the victim of the murder bears a striking resemblance to her, and it kind of sets her down this um, interesting path of a mystery. So.
Interesting path of a mystery indeed. Can't woo, my mouse just dropped. Can't wait to get the inside scoop. Now, this striking resemblance to all the murder victims is actually based on your own experience with doppelgangers, which are people that look like you but are not related to you. And I can't wait to get the inside scoop on that and so much else. But first, I just want to welcome everyone, because we are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday. And if you've been here before, you know how it works. If you're new, welcome. We're so happy. Here's how it works. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. Elle is a lawyer turned author. This is her first book, so ask her anything about her writing practice, what made her make the switch, all the good juicy stuff. What is her life like? Is she an insomniac like this artist character of hers? We got a lot to talk about. Get it going in the comments and I will get them right over to her. Catch a clue. Welcome to the conversation. Hi, Wendy. She's saying hi, Sarah and Elle. Hi, Catch a Clue. Good to have you. Welcome back. Always a pleasure to have you. Let's talk about this lawyer thing, Elle. Did you always want to be a writer? Have you been writing secretly during your lawyer breaks? What's the skinny?
Yeah, so actually, I was a writer first in childhood, and then I don't know, I'd been interested in the law on and off through childhood. But I knew that I always wanted to write. And then my undergrad degree is in English literature. But then, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened to contribute to it, but I ended up going to law school after that. And writing kind of took a little bit of a backseat to it. In undergrad, I was in an organization that was like a creative writing organization. And they don't really have those in law schools. So I was just trying to survive that. Um, and then once I got out of law school, I returned back to it, and then I kind of started looking into what it takes to get a book traditionally published, for the first time since I was a teenager, probably, and of course the querying process and everything had changed. Not that I'd ever followed through on it when I was a teenager, but yeah, it was definitely an experience. So.
An experience indeed. Well, it worked out, because here you are with your debut book out December 1st, here to give us the inside scoop on all the juicy things. Chelsea, welcome to the conversation. She's saying, hello, everyone. Chelsea, welcome back. Always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, Elle, let's jump into some of the reviews that your book has earned. So let's kick off with one of my favorites, J.T. Ellison, who is the New York Times bestselling author of so many books. She's coming back on the show for the 3rd time in March with her latest. I can't wait to welcome her back. She raves that your book is an insidious, creepy page turner. She says you are a completely assured debut, and this book will send chills down your spine and keep you looking over your shoulder. So first of all, congratulations. I love JT. I was thrilled to see that. So Elle, what have you learned about the craft of writing a book that sends chills down JT Ellison's spine? How do you do
Um,
it?
Well, so I actually, when I was growing up, I can't even think of a single thriller that I read when I was younger. But after law school, or I guess during law school, I got turned on to a few different true crime podcasts like Serial, And it was kind of something that my study group would in law school would watch and listen to different like documentaries and podcasts, and then that kind of set me on the path to listen to audiobook thrillers and read thrillers for the first real time. And I loved them. I always loved thriller movies and psychological thrillers in particular. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a genre that I fell in love with, and it's craft wise. I don't really know, but it came together well. I think part of it, and I've seen a few people say this before, but I think part of it is not knowing everything and outlining to a complete extent from the beginning, because there are certain, things that will happen or certain behaviors by characters maybe that can surprise you. But I always had the framework in mind from the beginning. So I think that's important.
Do you think not outlining is a key to building the tension?
For me, it is. And see, it's so interesting because I know so many amazing authors that write thrillers, and they're compelling, twisty thrillers. And I know for a fact that they outline heavily. So that works for them. I think for me, part of the joy and the thrill of writing, if you will, is not knowing everything that's going to happen. And so, like I said, I knew from the beginning what the ending was going to be. And the main plot line was taken from something like that was the main inspiration that kicked off writing for me. And then I knew a couple of key points, but everything else was kind of different interactions and things like that took me by
Ooh.
surprise. So
Well, let's talk about that ending, which you have just revealed. You knew from the get-go how it was going to be. So I let people submit questions in advance. And Liana has a question about that ending, leaving us and clutching the edge of the cliff with our white knuckling it. So tell us about that ending. You knew from the beginning. What else can you tell us about it? Without giving any spoilers. No spoilers here.
Yes, yeah. So I'm going to try to keep it vague, but I do know that a lot of people have questions about the ending at this point. So I think sometimes people don't like having things neatly wrapped up, but I think sometimes to stay true to the story and the character, especially, maybe a questionable narrator, possibly, that it's more true to the story to kind of leave some room for doubt. And I have always enjoyed with movies or books, when it's appropriate, if there are the clues and the evidence there in the book, I personally like to be trusted as a reader to come to my own conclusions about that. And I really wanted to put readers into the mindset of the narrator. And there's a lot of things that, she may or may not get clear answers to by the end. So
I'm in your boat. I'll shove over. I'll help you. I'll grab an oar and help you row. I also like to wonder, talk about, and hotly debate what I think. And I think that's what I love about the Serial podcast as well. And some of my other favorite podcasts are Live and Die in LA. I have so many favorites, but I like to get into those conversations with other fans about, well, what do you think? And sort of run it down. So anyone else, what do you tell us, everyone who's watching, are you team resolution? Are you team debate the ending? Do you like it spelled out? Do you like to be left hanging? Give us the skinny in the comments. So many great comments coming in. Hello, Melissa joining us from Australia saying, good day, Sarah and Elle. Hi, Melissa. Always a pleasure to see you pop up. Thanks so much for tuning in to chat with us today. Julie, welcome to the conversation. Always a pleasure to see you pop up as well. She says, hi, ladies. Have either of you run into your doppelgangers? I haven't, but my family swears they saw mine once. Elle, give us a skinny about the doppelganger thing. What's going on?
yeah, so I kind of mentioned to you before we went live. So I have a ton of doppelgangers, and most of them are in a specific geographical area. I know they all have different names. People swear that they came up to me assuming that I was them. And they were a family member or very close friends of these people. So, and then even when I've traveled out of the state, I've had a couple of run-ins where people were sure that I was someone else. But apparently I'm learning that that's not that common. But I have not actually seen them. Um, but there was one that I know that I crossed paths with, and it kind of made me doubt if the resemblance was as striking as people thought maybe it was because, to them, I looked exactly like her, but if I passed right by her and didn't realize it, did I really look like her? That's what's so interesting to me about the concept of, doubles and everything is, sometimes our perception of ourselves looks a little bit different, so if we're
Okay.
faced with a person.
That's so interesting. So Julie, I have not met my doppelganger, and I am desperate to meet her. So I read a New York Times. I can't remember if it was New York Times. I think it was New York Times. Maybe it was NPR article a couple months ago about all these people meeting their doppelgangers on social media, and I'm looking for mine. Like, I would love to meet her because I very much wished I was a twin, and up until the time I was 12 I kept hoping that maybe we had just been separated at birth. So I would love to meet my doppelganger, but alas I have not. So
When I
so,
was
if anyone
researching
knows anyone, send them my way.
Well, when I was researching this book, I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but there's a website somewhere where people were submitting their photos, in search of a doppelganger, and I think some of them found them through that website. It was kind of like a database, but it was very old. It was an old project that happened a while ago on the internet, so I bet Facebook is probably your best bet at this point to
Yeah,
find someone that looks like you.
I'm looking for her. I'm looking for her. If anybody finds her, send her my way. I want to meet her. I want to befriend her. Julie, thanks for the great question. I appreciate it. We have a mystery user joining us saying, "Hello, Sarah and Elle. So excited to read this book. Yay! Let us know what you think when you do. As always, all the good tea is spilled over in Mystery and Thriller Mavens, free and open to all, where we continue the conversation about the book and all the books, chat, reads, do giveaways. So much fun is happening over there. So be sure to check it out. I will, oops, wrong thing. I'm going to, here is the link to that. So click over and join us. Okay. I'm going to get back to the comments. Okay. Back to the question. I said, resolution or hanging. We have one vote for hashtag team hanging. Okay. Actually that's 3 votes because Elle and me as well. So we are all team hanging. Harris, welcome to the conversation. Wants to know, what was the inspiration for this book and its premise? Great question.
Okay, so like I mentioned, I've actually had weird doppelganger things going on since I was a teenager. Um, and but years later, after law school, I had a weird thing happened where this older woman assumed that I was somebody that like I've never seen her before in my life, but like she was convinced that I knew her. And I was telling my husband about it, and he and I were kind of going through the best of, being mistaken for someone instances that I've had and kind of recounting them because it's like I said, it's happened quite a lot. And then, he was like, "Hey, what if you wrote a book about that?" And then I was like, "You know what? That is a great idea." And we kind of just started brainstorming from there. And yeah, so it directly comes from that. And then all the other twists and stuff we kind of, talked back and forth about. And then I decided to get serious about it. And I actually started writing it. And then from that point, I started layering different things that I thought would make it a juicier, twistier, more messed up story. So
Like if all your doppelgangers are getting murdered, just turning up dead
exactly,
one by one.
exactly.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, so to
Harris,
my knowledge, they're all alive and well, hopefully. But it's been, at least a decade since, most of them have
this,
happened. So
this is me knocking on wood for their
yeah.
wellness. Harris, thank you for the great question. Elle, thanks for the skinny. Ooh, another mystery user. Thanks for joining us. Wants to know, Elle, do you start with setting or with characters? Yeah, give us the skinny into your process.
So I'd say so for this book in particular, I started with the characters. And then I'm kind of obsessed. I call myself like a stalker of the city of Chicago. I love Chicago. I'm not from there or anything, but when I was telling my husband about the book and we were kind of talking about it, I was like, you know what, Chicago would be perfect as a setting. So I did start with the characters in that instance. I'd say with everything else, like the book that I have coming up next year, it was actually the setting first, and then this story kind of came to mind, and it's kind of a personal setting, so that I was basing it off of. And then I'd say for some of the other books I have in the works, the setting kind of inspired the story. But yeah, for this first book, it was definitely more character focused from the beginning, and then everything else came together.
Can you tell us the setting of this very personal setting of this next book?
Well, yeah, like I said, it's loosely based off of the actual physical location, doesn't exist, but it is based off of a small town in Northern California, uh,
Ooh.
in the countryside. So, but not the nice wine country part of Northern California.
When you said personal, I was like, your bedroom, your
No,
closet, your bathroom, your underwear drawer. Like,
no, 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 no. No, not that personal.
not the left,
You know,
back out. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Okay.
zoom out.
Zoom out, zoom out. Okay, thank you guys for all these great questions. I'm loving it. Let me just get down here. Catch a clue. Elle, how long did it take you to write this book? Thank you, Wendy. Great question.
Yeah, okay, so it's kind of I had to take a few breaks in between. I'd say I started the book in February of 20, I want to say 19, and then I officially started querying in April 2020. So, but I had actually finished the book and then I was editing for a few months. So I'd say about a year roughly. Yeah.
And for those who don't know what querying is, tell us what that means, Elle.
Oh, yeah. So querying is, when you submit your manuscript, and you're kind of pitching it to agents to see if they'll represent you, to get your book sold traditionally. So, yeah.
Yay. So first you wrote the book, then you started
Mhm.
reaching out to agents, see who you could click with, who wanted to represent you, signed with someone, and then they started to submit your book to various acquisitions editors at different publishers to see who wanted to
Mhm.
buy the book and then take it from there.
Yes, it is such an arduous process, but yes.
Exactly. Yay. Yay. Thank you for that. Oh, Anissa is revealing herself as the mystery user. Anissa, I thought that, thank you for letting us know that that is you. I don't know why. Facebook has so many weird privacy issues. So I apologize. That was glitching before, but it's so great to have you with us. Anissa is an amazing bookstagrammer and reviewer. And she's the one who asked about character and set or versus setting. And she'd like to know why. Great question.
Well, I guess I kind of just go with whatever's natural, right? Like
Mm,
if I'm thinking of a story, or not even thinking of a story, sometimes stories come to you. So like this one, my husband was the one who put the bug in my ear, like, hey, this is kind of an interesting story idea that you have all these weird, like mistaken identity things pop up. And so from there, it became pretty focused on the character that would be experiencing the same type of thing. And maybe becoming a little bit more unhinged if they were getting murdered. Because, like I said, I thankfully haven't had that happen. And then with the other stories, sometimes with setting, I'd say maybe a lot of times book ideas come from, for me, they come from different loose topics that I'd like to explore. So, something happens in my life and I'm like, hey, I kind of want to dig a little deeper into that. And so it's not necessarily focused on the character sometimes, but more on the setting in which that type of situation happens.
mm, mm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Wendy, thank you for that great question about how long it took Elle to write the book and all of the many steps that it took to get her there. She is saying, wow, that is an arduous process. It sure is. I think a lot of people, I myself didn't realize how long it took, how very many steps it is. And then that's just to get the book sold. Then the
Mhm.
real work of digging into the manuscript to make it publishing ready, to polish and rewrite and hone, and then go through the 57 rounds or 557 in my case.
Oh,
Um,
God. Yeah.
it's a lot. And I think most people don't realize that. So Wendy, thanks so much for the great question. And Elle, thanks for letting us in on that. Anissa is saying, so are you a plotter then or a pantser?
So I typically think of myself as a pantser because I don't outline. But I do in my mind kind of see in some stories, I kind of see the ending before I start writing. So in this one, I kind of had followed through on what the conclusion of this would be before I started even writing the book. Little details of leading up to the ending changed here and there, depending on what the narrative required, I think. But then for some other stories, I just go into it and then I kind of see what happens. So like my next book, I came up I did know generally what I want the ending to be, but the why and everything of the ending was a little different than what I'd expected. So I try to leave flexibility for what I think the story turns into. So I'd say I don't know, mostly pantser, I guess. I don't know.
I love it. Y'all, the book is not even out yet. It comes out December 1st, but you can pre-order your copy tonight. So no matter where you're watching from, here is the link. Click, 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 pre-order, pre-order, pre-order. And our friends at Murder by the Book will send you your copy on December 1st. And then you can immerse yourself in the book that JT Ellison said sent chills down her spine. Here is that pre-order link. Grab it now. Speaking of reviews, I want to get to some of these other fabulous reviews. Laura Ann White, who was on the show back in 2020, raves. I'm going to pop this up so we can all read it together. One of those faces delivers an unreliable narrator whose paranoia is shaped by past trauma, a killer targeting women who looks like her, and plenty of twists that tighten as the atmosphere closes in. This taut, chilling, page-turning psychological thriller is sure to put debut author Elle Grawl on the map. Welcome to the map, Elle. You're here. Yay. I love that review. And Laura is such a lovely, lovely person and talented writer. So it's so great to see it resonating with her. Anissa suggesting you could be a hybrid, a plotzer.
Yeah, and see, that's why I hesitate to put a full label on it because I feel like I definitely do not have the organization to be in the plotting realm.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I have like a brain outline, maybe. I don't know. I
A brain
don't know if
outline. I love it. I love it. Yeah, when Jeffrey Deaver was on, he's been on 3 times now, and he spends 6 months plotting vigorously. His outlines run up to 180 pages long. And then he's able to execute on that very quickly, which he also does in a fully darkened room, typing tactile. So Jeffrey Deaver is living the dream.
Mhm.
And for anyone who's in Texas, actually, and anyone in general, Jeffrey is at the store tomorrow. That is November 29th. And he will draw a Christmas tree or a Hanukkah dreidel on anyone's signed book. So you don't want to miss out on a signature Jeffrey Deaver drawing. Let's hop over to your fellow Elle writer. This from Elle Mar, who raves taut with suspense. One of those faces is a slow burn thriller that will make you deadbolt your door during the day. Grawl's debut hypnotized me from start to finish. Congratulations on that rave review. Elle Mar's been on 3 times as well, or 2 times as well. And she knows a thing or two about suspense. Elle, what have you learned from book 1 to book 2 about the craft of creating suspense?
I guess maybe pacing is always maybe not a challenge. I don't know. I think it's something that I reserve typically for editing. I try to I'd say actually the second book required a lot more it was a little bit more of a slow burn, I'd say, than the first book. And
Ooh.
so pacing is always interesting to me because what reads as breakneck to me sometimes is a little slow to some editors or, to other readers. And then sometimes things
Hmm.
that I think are happening too slowly are happening too fast. So it's always kind of interesting to work out the kinks in that when it comes to editing. So yeah.
That is interesting because I actually have the same thing where I think it's, the pace of, 1,000 galloping horses, like,
Mhm.
1,000 horsepower, just galloping away like a runaway train. This is a very mixed and bad analogy, but to me, it is breakneck. But then someone else is
Mhm.
like, I kind of
Yeah,
I fell
exactly.
asleep, and I'm like, drink more coffee, like you're fine. But it is interesting how we all perceive that differently. And then some people perceive, other things very fast paced that I'm like, kind of dragged for me. So I guess
Mhm.
it reading is such an individual experience.
It
Um,
really is. Yeah, and I think one of the things that I kind of it's a little bit easier for me that the second book is kind of deciding what notes to take and maybe expand on and modify the book based off of and then what notes are just very subjective and maybe there's like a small tweak rather than a big change that will make a lot of difference to different readers and things. But yeah, it's kind of subjective sometimes, what how you perceive a book. So
Exactly. Well, thankfully, so many people are perceiving yours so well. Kathleen Willett, author of Mother of All Secrets, Raves, one of those faces kept me flipping pages in pursuit of answers well past my bedtime. An utterly satisfying rabbit hole. Congratulations on that. She's not the only one. Megan Collins, author of The Family Plot, who came on for that, as well as her book the year before, says Elle Grawl delivers on her irresistible premise with a story so full of mysteries and suspicious characters that your mind will spin trying to figure it all out. One of those spaces is an eerie page-turning thriller that leaves you increasingly unsettled with each new chapter. Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? Is that your insomniac artist character is in such a state of anxiety and paranoia due to her past that suddenly everybody seems like a threat, and she it's like, can you trust the guy in the coffee shop? Can you trust the police officer? Can you trust the detective? Can you trust your friend? Can you trust what you thought you saw? Because all of a sudden you start to doubt everything. How did you manage that while keeping the anchored in reality?
I think a lot of times when you've experienced traumatic experiences and things as a kid or at some point in your life, it can really shape your worldview. And I think a lot of times, your perception can become that way. And there are things happening in reality. There are facts to kind of keep you tied to, or like you said, anchored to what's going on. But there is a lot of room for interpretation in how we interact with people, right? And if you are also coping with trauma and anxiety in an unhealthy way, those things have an effect on you, and they further push your perception maybe out of the realm of what's really happening. So it was an interesting thing to play with. But yeah, the goal, of course, is to keep people, anchored to that while also being in her mindset of there's a lot of room for questioning everybody. So
Mm. Melissa saying this is so interesting. I totally agree, Melissa. Absolutely. Um, all right, y'all, we are almost out of time. I just want to remind you the book is not even out yet. Elle's coming on to give us the inside scoop pre-launch. So here again is the link to pre-order the book tonight. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. And you can click and order. And as soon as it drops on December 1st, the good folks at Murder by the Book will send you your copy, and then we can continue the conversation and see what you think about it. Elle, anything else you'd like to share with us about writing, about your characters, about this book in general?
um not off the top of my head. I think I've been able to say pretty much everything I want to about the characters and stuff. The setting is very atmospheric. So if you like that kind of thing and you like being put into the mind of um, a mind full of turmoil, which is kind of a given with a psychological thriller. Uh, if you like that genre, I think you'll enjoy the book.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because I think, and there are so many fans of psychological thrillers. Everyone loves to try to figure it out.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to give us the scoop. Elle, what a pleasure to chat with you. Oh, we have one more comment. I like the idea of setting up the detections and letting the character drive the details. I believe it will help to make the story natural. Really great point there. And Nisa saying, happy pub day tomorrow. Thank you, Sarah and Al. What a great conversation. Wendy saying, thank you most. Thank you all for joining us and spending another Mystery Monday with us. Stay tuned for Hannah Morrissey giving us the inside scoop on the Widowmaker at the top of the hour. I'll be back then. Thank you so much, Al. Happy pub day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me.
Of course.
Mhm. Bye.